In the book, roughly in the last third or last quarter, just before you kind of start giving kind of this concept of how to structure your year, kind of closer to a training plan, so to speak, you divide athletes in category 1 and category 2. And category 2 are maybe more of the beginner athletes. So they're either under 18 or they have run or exercised for less than 400 hours in the previous year, or they haven't run the event that they're going to compete in that year. Kind of, for you to be category 2, you have to satisfy all those 3 criteria. From all of what you said, does it apply equally to category 1 and category 2? Would you give a different prescription, so to speak, to a category 1 athlete? Because in my experience, most of my friends, the amateur athletes who work and stuff, most of them don't hit that 400 hours a year, right? I averaged it, it's around roughly 7.5 hours per week if you had to do it year round. And I also noticed that like you give a minimum recommendation of like peak weeks before like a big event. And they are always significantly higher than what I see other people give. The question is, would you give this a similar prescription, a similar approach for the category 1 and category 2 athletes, or is there a big difference there?
That's a great question, and it really comes down to the individual. And I'll explain how I would differentiate and prescribe training slightly differently. So let's say let's limit our discussion to trail running, mountain running, and let's say you're in this, as you were saying in the very beginning, maybe 6 to 7 hours a week of training is kind of where you top out. And you're finding that the limiter to you're getting, if you finish that week, or you finish your long run for the week and it's 3 hours, and maybe you've done 1,000 meters vertical in that run, and your legs are hammered, your legs are really tired, even though you kept it in zone 1 and zone 2, maybe you're walking the hills, all that, then you're getting a muscular endurance training effect from this basic zone 2 work. And in that case, you could add muscular endurance training on top of it. The problem with it is, if you already are getting remember earlier I talked about how, hey, maybe we're talking 10% of the total training volume, even for an elite athlete, of this type of training. Well, let's say your 3-hour run, it's your big run on the weekends, and for 2 or 3 days afterwards, your legs are still tired. Well, that means the legs were getting a muscular endurance training effect. And if you were then to try to fit a muscular endurance workout on top of, a specific muscular endurance workout, you would be doing the thing I told you not to do, which is recovering enough between those muscular endurance sessions. And the benefit of the long run is you're also building aerobic capacity, and which you're not going to build aerobic capacity with these muscular endurance workouts, because they're relatively short, they're relatively intense. And so if a person feels that their personal limitation in their training is local muscular fatigue during the week, then they don't need to add muscular endurance training, unless it's like really early in the off season. So I think everybody can benefit from muscular endurance training, regardless of the number of hours they're doing. But if you're trying to accumulate a high volume of running and your legs are getting tired, then you won't have the capacity to add muscular endurance training on top of that without risking overtraining, fatigue, stagnation, all these things we want to avoid. So my answer would be, each individual needs to determine, are the legs one of the main limiters for you? Now, as I just was saying, if I had, a long training block, many, many months, then I think even that athlete would be advised to say, okay, I'm going to have a lower volume training block right now, and I'm not going to do these 3-hour long runs with 1,000 meters of vertical that make my legs really tired. I'm going to keep everything down about an hour of running and on more moderate terrain, but I'm going to include one muscular endurance workout in each week. What I would say is then when that athlete, and I've seen this happen, when that athlete then moves to a higher volume of running, their legs are going to be more resilient and they're going to be able to handle that higher volume of running better, which means they're going to benefit. Now, this is assuming they have the time to add. As you said, many people are, they're going to max out at 6 or 7 hours a week just because of their life. But if a person had the capacity to run, 7, 10, 12 hours a week, and they had laid a foundation of muscular endurance training, then they're going to be more, I don't hate to use the word durable, but they're going to be more fatigue resistant in that high volume block, if that makes sense. So it'll make the high volume block more effective for them because they'll be able to recover faster between those longer sessions for them. So it's not black and white, is what I guess I'm saying here.